Okay, it's installed. It's installed. This is the ESOC Autumn Championship 2018. Right now we have a best of five between Conqueror999 and Tabben. This is the first match of the round of 32 of, as I said, the ESOC Autumn Championship, the biggest AoE3 tournament of the season. Players ranked around Colonel. These players have a bit of tournament history. Conqueror999 playing against Tabben in Sup Cup number 3, a weekend tournament held a few months ago. Round Tabben, the underdog, defeated Conqueror999, and that or Conqueror999, otherwise known as Dictator, deleting his Twitch channel, which he had 800 followers on. So this is quite the grudge match.
I think we might need to restart due to hunts. I think blue is missing one.
Let's take a look at it.
He's supposed to have like 3 in the back, like
He's supposed to have one in the back.
these, but there is one missing there. Like there's not one here.
I'm a little bit concerned that there's like not one over this side, you know.
Yeah, I think there's a missing hunt. It's like
Okay,
4 to 5-ish on blue side and way more on red side. So I think this is a rehost. Do you agree?
I mean, the south side always kind of spawns wonky. It's really hard to call.
So
I do
rehost
feel
or not?
kind of
I think it's a rehost, personally.
Yeah, I would say so as well, because there's nothing here, whereas over there.
No. No.
Oh, okay. I guess
Alright
he's
with
okay
it.
with it. Probably because he got a bunch of yaks.
That's a good point, you know, China really loving those yaks. But anyway, in the south of the map, we'll have China, color blue. The map is Manchuria. And in the north of the map, we'll have Conqueror999. Fire. German versus China.
Yes.
I wonder if there's like a
Europeans
tournament
to
rule for
match
this
up.
where the player can be like, nope, I got wood treasure and 9 yaks. I'm fine with the bad hunts.
If the player's okay with it, if he doesn't want to rehost, then
Yeah.
you know it's up to him. Us casters, you know, we do have the option of well, not the option, but we do notify the players that we kind of think it's unbalanced, and if they so choose, we can rehost it. But it's not really on our terms. If they don't
Yeah.
want to rehost it, that's okay as well.
Anyway, let's take a look at the treasures. And yeah, we do see that tabben got a really nice fat 85 wood treasure. Conqueror having a 90 wood here, which is also very nice. And then a 60 food for tabben. So both players getting some juicy treasures here. Let's take a look. It's
Well,
6 yaks to 1 in favor of China at the moment. China, of course, having the extra exploring unit, definitely taking advantage of the yaks on this map. And we do see very standard AH1 shipments as well.
electing to go with the early trading post, gathering the wood for that early. Actually, he got the 90 wood treasure, so he would have been able to just chop 10 wood, I believe, and being able to pick that up quite easily. However, you know, with that said, you know, taking that early treasure, getting the trade post, that doesn't allow him to scout much with his explorer, and that also kind of explains the disparity in the yak count. Eating a few of these yaks early, trying to expedite that colonial age up.
Yeah, he did also send the refugee shipment without making the second village. For people that might not notice, the Chinese H1 villager shipment is not a just straight up you get X amount of villagers. It's 1 villager per town center and per village. So with just 1 village, he's basically shipping 2 villagers. Whereas normally they prefer to get a second village up to get a 3 villager shipment out of it, which is the more standard thing to do. Although, of course, this map does have trading posts, and trading posts are also very, very strong. And yeah, we do see that Germany is going to be colonial first here. Do you think he's going to apply pressure, or will he just do the standard fast fortress German play?
A Dictator is a player who really does like to play these matchups in a standard way, so I would expect not a lot of exotic gameplay here. I wouldn't expect like a crossbowman rush or a pike aggression. anything of that sort. I'd expect a 5 or 10 cav semi-FF, going up to Fortress and then trying to take that early advantage versus tabben in Age 3.
We do see Germany getting a market up though. He's just getting placer mines at the moment. Let's see. Yeah, he also has hunting dogs. No market for China just yet, although I would imagine he's going to put one down at some point. You do want a couple of upgrades. If nothing else, the health upgrade on villagers is nice against Germany because of the Yulan rates. Steel traps coming in for Germany. Oh, we actually saw China train a couple of disciples to take this 150 coin treasure. This will definitely help him speed up to Fortress, especially if he decides to go for the build order where you mine the coin and ship the wood instead, which it does seem like he's doing. And of course, this build is a lot better if you have access to these yaks.
160 food to get those disciples. I wonder if he's going to go for another treasure because, you know, he basically converted that 160 food into 150 coin when he picked up that treasure. I'd like to see him, you know, since he's trained these disciples, try to go around the map, pick up a few more treasures, and like really get value out of them.
Sacrificing one for some scouting information here. He sees 2 Yulans, so that just basically tells him that the first shipment in Colonial has arrived for Germany. Second trade post at some point was taken by Germany. I might have missed that. Do you think he will go for a stagecoach, or is the experience too important here?
I don't know if he would. I think he would rather go with something like amalgamation, you know, getting that upgrade from the market, rather than going for something like stagecoach on this map where you only get 2 TPs and the line isn't very long, so the resource bonus or XP, it's not that great compared to something like amalgamation where, you know, you're going to have so many villagers on coin, all of your units are coin heavy. I think that's something that's a little bit better here, and if he were to do something like that, you know, he might not go for either. I think he would opt for the amalgamation. Exactly like you said, Chrissy, not going for the 700 coin for his Fortress age up, just gathering it, sending 700 wood, being able to get more infrastructure out sooner, and pretty much having the same age up time, basically.
Germany going to put his free Yulans to use here and get the pretty big treasure. I'm not sure how relevant this will be, but it's definitely a really huge treasure. How does this compare to riding school? Does that mean that it's like a quarter
riding
of riding
school,
I think?
So basically, you know, I might be wrong, but let's take a Hussar for an example. Hussar takes in from the stable, so let's just assume that a Yulin takes 40 seconds as well. What riding school does is it subtracts 40% of the train time. So 40% of 40 is 16 seconds from the train time. So after sending riding school, a Yulin would go down from training in 40 seconds to 24 seconds. So basically that treasure that we saw Conqueror picking up, it was a 10% treasure. And that took 4 seconds off the training time, which brought the original train time from 40 seconds. I hope I didn't explain that in too confusing of a way.
Oh, he actually changed his summer palace to produce the Ming army instead of the standard or old Han army, getting 3 Kashyyyks and 2 pikemen here, trying to hedge a bit against the German cavalry. But we do see that both players will have 2 shipments when they reach Fortress here. Germany, of course, reaching Fortress ever so slightly quicker than the Chinese player, due to how these civs have different age up things. Of course, Germany having the, what is it called? The Prince something, I believe. Exalted Prince? Exile Prince? The fast age up politician. I forgot its name, but I think it's Exiled Prince? Yeah, Exiled Prince. Haha. Which, of course, ages up extremely quickly. We do see British consulate from the Chinese player. Interestingly enough, it's actually China that, or Germany that gets the health upgrade for villagers rather than China, which is what I expected. Does he even have a market? Yeah, he has no market yet. But, I mean, he does need a lot of wood, right? He needs to get a second village up. He needs the consulate. He needs the barracks. You can't just get a market for free. And he even needs a third village as well now. I like the village placement, though. Protecting a hunt and a mine. He still has a lot of yaks as well. And we do see that Germany is starting to make skirmishers of a 1,000 coin shipment, whereas China is starting to build the cavalry batches with an arquebusier shipment. He does need to be a bit careful. He still has a couple of anti-cav units with these spearmen minutemen, together with the Ming army from the Summer Palace. So these arquebusiers are relatively safe as long as they don't go too far out of the base.
First shipment from tabben, the 10 arquebusier. Basically, what that's going to allow him to do is keep on par with Conqueror999 skirmisher mass. You know, in skirmisher fights, a lot of it comes down to you know, just how many skirmishers you have. Similar to in musketeer battles, where it's musketeer versus musketeer. What matters most is how many you have. Do you have more than your opponent? Attack, and if you don't, get away, run away. You know, you can't fight that. So tabben. Playing as the Chinese, they can't elect to, with their war academies, they train units together. So they have to train and skirmishers together, or they have to train meteor hammers, the cavalry, together with their skirmishers. So it can be a bit difficult for China to get their units all. It's hard to describe, but basically it's hard for them to keep on par with what the German player can produce, because while the German player can make batches of 5 skirmishers, the Chinese player can only make batches of 3 at a time.
And I do feel like Conqueror over here is kind of just counter-building the Chinese player. He went for 1k coin and then Black Riders, while the Chinese player is going for a big cavalry mass with skirmishers in the back, and Black Rider, Warwagon, skirmishers should be able to deal with that quite handily.
You know, pumping out so much DPS, even against units that aren't specifically cavalry, they do a lot of damage. And you can see here. Job wiping all the Yulins away off of the floor, and tabben putting his Chinese explorer in cover mode. Quite a few of the war wagons here, but I think all the Black Riders still alive, one taking a bit of damage. But very soon here, you know, all of the cavalry for tabben about to be dead.
We don't have veteran Yulan upgrade yet, though. That is something that matters, but the only Yulans in this fight are the ones that are free from the shipments, so not too big of a deal. And yeah, these Black Riders are just getting amazing value. These Redcoat Musketeers from the intervention shipment are not to be underestimated, though, even in a ranged fight like this. Although, that being said, a bunch of them just got taken down by the skirms. Oh, look at the Kashyyyks getting some good value here. Just ignoring the Kashyyyk. Poor Kashyyyk. No one cared about him. Don't worry, Kashyyyk. I still love you.
Tabben just being very, very far behind in terms of the skirmisher count. You know, losing a lot of his anti-cavalry units, getting picked off by the superior skirmisher mass from Conqueror999. Basically winning that first engagement so handily with these Black Riders, taking out basically an entire shipment, that 5 meteor hammers from tabben, as well as all the cavalry that he had trained.
Yeah, and this 11 Chengdao shipment as well now, basically not doing anything.
All the Black Riders still alive from Conqueror. tabben very low on score, and not with the proper skirmisher mass to be able to engage against Conqueror. You know, getting these redcoats picked off again. And as well, the veteran
come in now.
Yep.
Yeah, like I said, this is the problem with China, whereas Conqueror can just very precisely make exactly the units he needs. China is kind of stuck making these awkward batches, and if they fall behind, it is really awkward to come back. Because like you said, you can only make, I think it's 3 skirmishers in the largest batch that has skirmishers.
You know, this Black Rider shipment was a really, really great call from Conqueror. What that allowed him to do was win that first engagement because, you know, Chinese cavalry, they're quite strong, but they're kind of frail at the same time. When they can get into an engagement and surround the opponent's units, they can just do overwhelming damage and just... But with those Black Riders up, they have such a high DPS against cavalry that, you know, tabben wasn't able to make the most of them. And with his inferior infantry mass, Conqueror was able to push ahead with the skirmisher mass that he had. That'll be Conqueror999 taking game 1. This is a best of 5 series, and I believe the next map... Let me take a look at the notes. It'll
Well,
be
tabben has
Gran
Gran
Chaco.
Chaco selected, so I would imagine that's the map.
Exactly. And you know what? I think Lilipy is ready. Let me just check ESO. It doesn't seem like he's online right now. So I'll just join this game. So this is the map pool. The second map will be Gran Chaco. The third will be Hudson Bay. And depending on who wins this match, you know, Hudson Bay Game 3, that could be the deciding match. If Conqueror wins this one, he'll be up 2-0 in the series.
Yeah, if memory serves me right, this is one of those maps where a civ like Russia can be quite strong.
This is a map with no trade posts, so, you know, it's basically on no trade post maps. Civs that only have limited economic options are a little bit less favored. Like British, Dutch, those are really good civilizations because they have options outside of trade posts to boom. You know, British getting villagers from their manors and Dutch having banks. France faring a little bit worse because, you know, they only have the 5 villager shipment. Same deal with, what's another civ like that? I guess Spain or Ottoman, especially Ottoman, you know. Strong economic options outside of trade posts. Russia, you know, they don't have economic options outside of their their TC. They only get a 2.5 villager shipment in the way of the
wood trickle.
Distribute, yeah, basically that. However, Russia doing well in these scrappy scenarios where, you know, there are hunts very spread out across the map, and you know, having to extend for them because they like to take engagements, go even, and then go back to their forward blockhouse, and, you know, basically win off map control.
Yeah, they are actually playing one of the matchups I have played the most in my entire time of playing Age of Empires, Japan versus Russia. Usually I am the Japanese player in this matchup, obviously. But we do have, in the top left of the map, in the color red, playing as the Japanese, Conquerer999, who is currently up a game and is best of 5, over his opponent in the bottom right side of the map, playing in the color blue as Russia, tabben on Gran Chaco, as mentioned earlier. Do you think the native trading posts will play a role? Actually,
in this
match,
matchup,
they might.
I would not expect it to, at least early on. You know, Dictator,
Yeah.
being a treaty player, he's going to be very cognizant of exactly what those native posts do. But, you know, I would not expect to see an early native post come out for either of these players in this matchup. Say one of them were playing France, it might be a possibility. A cheesy one at that, and probably not the most optimal build order, but we could see something fun like that. Just an unexpected rush utilizing one of those. But in Japan versus Russia,
Yeah, the reason I mention them is because there's actually an upgrade at these particular ones that give 10% damage to all archer units. That includes the Yumi.
I think Yumi have a base attack of 18, or it might be 19. So basically that archer attack upgrade to attack, which is quite sizable when you consider that basically all your units are DPSing at the same time.
And of course, this is another map with livestock, so we'll keep an eye on that. Currently, Dictator up in the llama count. Of course, again, he is an Asian Civ this time, so he's the one with 2 explorers. And since he doesn't have, you know, enough wood to shrine the entire map, he can use those explorers to get an advantage in livestock. Although currently he is working on a 100 food treasure, which is definitely very nice for Japan, a civ that usually struggles with aging up to colonial in a good time order thingy English difficult language.
That's a really good pickup for Dictator here. That's going to expedite his colonial age up by a lot. In addition to that, you know, this being a matchup where Russia wants to play aggressive, that faster age up time going to expedite everything about Conqueror's build order. He's going to get the 600 wood shipment out sooner.
Oh,
with that, he's going to be able to build his barracks sooner, get a unit sooner.
Conqueror is not going for the standard Japan play. He did not build a consulate in Age 1. He made a shrine with the wood, and then just is gathering 800 food for the Egypt. So we will not be seeing a consulate Egypt. Shipping 300 wood as his first shipment. And he also picked up 30 wood in a treasure, so probably he's just going to make a bunch of shrines with this. Maybe a market.
In fact, something like an aggressive barracks. I'm not quite sure what he'll translate this into. I wouldn't expect for him to go to the consulate, and I wouldn't expect for him to go to with a market. If he were to do those things, okay, he's building the second shrine here, but if he were to do those things, I would have expected the consulate build order first, the normal economic option. I think he's going to go for an aggressive build order, but I'm not too sure. I usually think, players that ship the 300 wood, they usually go for an early barracks. They expedite their production of Ashigaru musketeers. I think I've seen Mito do this build order. I think it might have been even in a tournament game, and it might have been on this exact same map as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask, do you think it's an adaptation to this map, or does Conqueror just play Japan in this way? Because I don't think I've seen Conqueror play Japan yet. Oh, and look at this, shrine in a perfect position to scout the forward villagers going for a blockhouse. And yeah, due to the food treasure, along with this particular build order, you can see that Japan is actually quite close in Egypt time compared to Russia. Russia also going for 300 wood over the more standard wood trickle. Doing some nice siege damage on the blockhouse here. And we do see a consulate coming up. Judging by the timing of this consulate, I would guess this to be Dutch or Japanese. I highly doubt he goes for a Portuguese consulate this late into the game.
You know what, I am surprised by this. I would have expected, just having the more traditional build order where he starts with the consulate, going with the Portuguese, but instead kind of choosing to do things backwards. I don't know if it's necessarily better or worse. Certainly, it got him the age up much, much sooner than if he had gone with the normal build order. He's going to age up here around 4 minutes and 40 seconds. Normally, Japan ages up around 5 minutes. So it expedited his age up by about 20 seconds. In addition, getting that 100 food, which also helped. Going the consulate. He might not go with Portuguese here. He might go with maybe, just starting with the Japanese or perhaps even the Dutch.
Dutch can work, but then you can't open stable. If you go for a Dutch consulate timing like this, you ideally want to ship the Good Faiths agreement, so you can get the bank quickly and then swap away from Dutch, because the base Dutch consulate is actually really, really bad. It does give you stadhouders, which is nice if you can ship the 300 export, but you really don't want to stay on Dutch consulate for very long. So if you want to go Dutch, you have to pretty much go Good Faith agreement. But we do see it's Japanese with 5 Ashigaru shipped, and probably some Naginatas in queue from his stable, along with Clubman. So he is intending to do a very strong timing push onto this forward blockhouse with 5 Clubman, 5 Naginatas, and 5 Ashigarus, and maybe even a second shipment of 5 Ashigarus. And there's the 5 Naginatas. And I think Russia has to fall back here. Naginatas are quite strong.
Yeah, the key for Tabben here, not getting caught by these clubmen. I hope he does a good job going back to the barracks. I think he'll be okay, getting up that second batch of musketeers there. Now he's up to around 15 musketeers, and I think he's in an absolutely okay position. This early aggression strategy from Conquerer999 not quite panning out the way he wanted it to.
Well, you say that, but if you look at the economic population, he is quite squarely ahead in eco, although he does not have market upgrades. Let me just quickly check. Yeah, neither player has market upgrades, so Japan is actually in a very comfortable position here. Normally Russia is pushing Japan quite hard and trying to siege down shrines, but by doing this, not really aggressive opening necessarily, there's no forward base or anything, but by opening stable, building cavalry, and relying on the double 5 Ashigaru musketeer shipment, he can get a strong enough army early on to protect his shrines and prevent Russia from containing him in his base, allowing him to kind of do the Japanese economic snowball strategy without getting disrupted as much. You are obviously slowing it down yourself by going for an opening like this, but it's just nice to be safe against Russia like this. And we do see that Tabben is adapting to it as well by not shipping the 4 Cossacks, but by following it with a wood shipment. And Conqueror did not actually ship the second Ashigaru shipment, he just threatened it, which was enough to make Tabben do this, allowing him to ship the wood himself. And we do see a barracks coming up in the back, because obviously he needs to have some production in terms of infantry. You can't keep relying on the shipments for that. It's actually one of Japan's nice trends. You have these double shipments, allowing you to basically have 4 infantry shipments in colonial, allowing you to really delay the barracks if you want to. We do see some attempts at raiding with the Nagis.
Mass up musketeers. I think he chose to forego some villager production in the early game, and that's why his economy was a little bit behind Conqueror, even though Conqueror didn't go with necessarily a very economic build order. But Tabben, taking it a bit more slowly now.
Japan obviously housed because the Russian player took down the shrines closest to the center, which were these 2, I believe. Obviously, he needs to take at least the one in the middle down, because that's a hunt he wants to hurt. And we do see the second blockhouse coming to hold that position. And there is the 4 Cossack shipment now that he got the 700 wood out of the way. But these Nagis might get a villager here if Tabben reacts early, but he reacts nice and quickly, and I don't think this one will go down. Oh, wait, the snare maybe? Just not. Mid-animation. But these cavalry units are actually extremely valuable for both players. This is a really wide open map, and you can really do a lot of work with these cavalry units. And I think that is why Conqueror also opted on starting with the stable, because getting cavalry out nice and early is very nice on this map. And yeah, just taking advantage of his units, getting a nice 40 food treasure here. Even making some shinobi with his exports. Those will do quite well against the musketeers. But we do see a second attempt by Russia at pushing into the base here. 1 villager goes down. Second one as well. Oof.
Second as well there.
And there's the 2 shinobi, and they will get picked off immediately. Oh, wait, that one might get away. Nope, never mind. Ooh, but the Cossacks getting caught a bit out of position here. And these Cossacks are actually more important than the Nagis, which might sound weird because Nagis are way more powerful than Cossacks. But at the moment, Russia has no infrastructure to produce any cavalry units past the 9 he can ship, whereas Japan can quite comfortably mix in Nagis when he feels he needs more. So these Cossacks are practically irreplaceable. Oh, and there's Boyars. It's a bit of an awkward shipment. He doesn't have that many Strelets or Cossacks yet, but it is a very powerful shipment nonetheless.
Indeed, and Conquerer999 being behind here on the military mass, and you can look at the scores and see that's even. That's actually not a very good thing for Conquerer999 at all. Russia usually tends to have a deflated score because of the way their batches of units work. So when they're going even on score, that usually means they're actually ahead.
Yeah, although Japan does have the defender's advantage here, of course, with 10 villagers in the town center, 2-shotting musketeers, closer reinforcement batch. Oh, and there's the daimyo. And that will massively boost the strength of his army here. And along with the shorter reinforcement routes and the shipments coming in, I do believe he will hold quite easily here. Let's just take a look to see if he lost any more villagers in exchange. He did not. If you look at units lost, you see that Russia lost a fair chunk of it. And like I said, most importantly, he lost all 9 of his irreplaceable Cossacks. So until he adds in a stable, he will not be able to add more cavalry. And that will make it very awkward for him to keep pushing into this Japanese base. Because if he ever picks a poor fight, the Japanese cav can snare him and there is nothing he can do about it. He doesn't have any cav of his own to protect against that. Shipping 700 food here to help produce the necessary units. And Japan managing to sneak in a 4 villagers shipment, which is probably why he fell behind a bit in military population for a while there. Shipping 600 coin now, and that together with his shrines. Oh, wait, shrines are on wood. Okay, never mind. But yeah, he just has all vills on food, basically. So he has a massive food income, and now with the 600 coin, he can make a lot of Ashinagi. I don't think he needs to swap this shrine over to something other than wood for now, though. It's going to be quite awkward to keep producing these coin food units with shrines on wood. Although he doesn't need to add shrines because he's housed soon, so I kind of understand why he's doing it.
No, Conquer999 is actually going to run out of food here from his cherry orchards and his berry bushes. So his next shipment's going to have to dedicated to the 2 cherry orchard shipments. So basically, this is the time where Conquer999 is at his strongest. because he's going to basically miss out on a colonial age shipment in the next few minutes. And with that, tabben might be able to pull ahead depending on what he chooses to send.
Look at that value, Shinobi.
And yeah, that Shinobi getting some nice scouting action. Seeing that tabben's indeed trying to split off some musketeers, maybe going for a raid. Nice catch by Conqueror.
Yeah, and it seems like Conqueror is going for a flanking maneuver here. And I just checked market upgrades, by the way, and Conqueror is in a very favorable position in that regard. He has tier 2 food, tier 1 coin, along with the tier 2 imperial bureaucracy, and that's the really big one. That is a massive market upgrade. It's unique to the Asian civs, and it's 10% to all resource gathering. It's massive. It's so good. Russia is only on hunting dogs at the moment. Oh, but we we have this awkward scenario where both players are pushing.
Actually, a bit difficult for me to tell who comes ahead in this scenario. You know, tabben being full well in Conqueror's base, so he has the potential for more damage. But tabben right now gonna lose a bunch of villagers to the side of his base.
Just going straight for the throat.
Exposed herd.
I do think this will force Conqueror to fall back, but look at the amount of villagers getting taken down here. I don't think that town center will survive. Yeah.
Yeah, that's gonna go, and that has so many villagers in it. Real quick here, and I don't think Conqueror's army is gonna be able to come and save that. Now, gonna lose a bunch of villagers
that's
here.
A lot of dead villagers. He does have the Asian upgrade for health and attack, so they aren't dying quite as quickly, but still, at least 7 villagers died there, possibly more. Although, now we're in this scenario where the Russian army, like I said, he has no cavalry to screen from the Japanese cavalry, so he is going to get snared here if he's not careful, and then the Japanese army can totally just obliterate this Russian army. Especially if the Nagis connect with the Strelets.
There's not that much cavalry here. There's only 2 Naganatas left alive. Conqueror getting in some good damage, but once all of these Naganatas are dead, these Strelets just have no counter from Conqueror.
Wait, how did Conqueror oh, he has the daimyo, of course, as the shipment point. I thought, like, how did he send the shipment, but he has the daimyo. Let's see, what can he ship here? He probably needs to ship 5 musketeers or 5 Yumi just to not die. Oh, this is such an awkward position for both players, though. Like, obviously, if Conqueror loses this army, he will basically lose everything. But at the same time, if tabben isn't careful and he gets called out of position, like, these Strelets, if they had kept marching east, they could have taken a lot of damage there. Oh, and it is the 5 Yumis that are being shipped. And it seems like Dictator is going to commit to a fight here, even sending in the villagers.
This is basically Conqueror's last time to make something happen.
Yeah, even the daimyo going into the fight here.
So many villagers, he lost his TC, he's down on economy, so he needs to make something happen militarily. And this is basically his last shot. But, you know, I think this is overall a pretty good trade for tabben, taking down at least another 5 villagers. He might lose his military mass here, but these Strelets just...
Very efficient with boyars. I do think Conqueror holds here, but like you said, he lost a lot of villagers. I'm scared to look. Yeah, he lost 23 villagers already this game. More to come, probably.
Sitting on half the villager count, and, you know, I think it was Conqueror's last gambit, but I also don't think that he hoped to win at this point, and, you know, he was just making the most of what he had for the entertainment of us observers.
He is... Wait, how did he rebuild that TC? When did that happen?
He gathered the wood for it.
I guess shrines on wood, yeah. Okay, Conqueror not going out without a fight, it seems. Rebuilding some shrines as well. He does have his cherry orchard ship now, so he has a food income again. This is, yeah. Oh. That is a slight... Oh, he does have a couple villagers there. Never mind, I thought he lost all of them, but there's still a couple of them forward. So he can pick up that 700 coin. Eco Theory shipped as well by the Russian player. Russia is out of actual shipments, though, I believe. He might still have 600 coin, but that's really it.
At this point in the match, the shipment's not being too important. Tabben does have 20 strelets in queue. I think he was going to send the 700 wood to be able to age up. He did have 1200 food stack, but sending it to the wrong shipment point, he's not going to be able to expedite that age up. So just electing to put out some more strelets. With that, he could pretty much just walk into Conqueror's base or his army or go anywhere and win the game at this point, as well as age up in the back of it, should he choose.
Some nice pickups by Conqueror here. They're getting value where he can, which he definitely needs to do at this point. And once he sees these musketeers, he just needs to run away as quickly as he can. Actually, wait, Tabben a bit unsure whether he wants to push or hold. But yeah, he wants to try and flank the Japanese army to try and catch these units out of position.
The musketeers and stuff with the strelets, gonna have them pinned, gonna be able to basically take off this little task force. You know, I hate to call it so early and say the game's over, but I really do wonder when Conquerer999 is going to call it. There's almost a 50 score disparity, and Tabben not aging up, but just pumping out all of his resources into more units, which is an absolutely okay line of play as well, since he's so ahead. You know, he can do whatever he wants, really. Here's actually going back to mid-map, not choosing to fully crush this little force of Japanese units. Again, that's okay. It's not the biggest deal, and I think Tabben here gonna go for the throat of Conqueror999. Gonna walk into his base once again.
Oh, the shinobi that was stealthed earlier, doing a bit of a raid here, might get a villager.
There she goes. Yeah, that's one villager down.
Oh, he missed! He missed the arrow!
Oh my gosh! It missed! Down the shinobi with 5 Cossacks. That villager gonna live on 10 hit points. I don't understand it, but Age of Empires 3 is a mysterious game.
Definitely. I feel like if Conqueror wanted to do this thing where he just pushes out with his army like he did, he needed to have the enlisted regulars card in his deckhand ship, so that if Tabben does go for the counterattack, he has the big batch of Minutemen along with a stronger TC to fall back on, which would have made that hold much less painful. And this is probably Conqueror's last stand here. Some Clubman connecting with the Strelets here, definitely nice. Oh, 5 Yumi shipment. Together with the Spear Minutemen. But so many Russian Musketeers here. Or, well, in general, Russian stuff, I guess. Oh yeah, this is a new TC, of course, so he has all the Minutemen again. But yeah, Conqueror does resign. So Tabben tying up the series.
Indeed, and it's kind of hard to diagnose, you know, where Conqueror went wrong in this game. I felt like he wasn't really ever in such a super commanding position, and that may have been, you know, because of the build order he chose at the very beginning. So I guess that was like his one mistake, you know, you could call it, just not going with the most optimal build order. He was kind of at a crossroads between going for a super economic build or like a build where, you know, he was gonna try to outmass Tabben early in the game and then push hard and take down his FB and win militarily, but not really succeeding on either of those fronts and just falling behind, you know, the Russian production.
Reset is after next game, right, for Sifs? Or is there no reset?
Yes, after next game.
Okay.
So Tabben will lock in his civilization first. He cannot play China, and he cannot play Russia.
And what did you say the map was? Hudson Bay?
Bay.
There's a lot of static all of a sudden.
Right?
Oh, wait, yeah, static's gone. Ooh, India. India, of course, in the current version of the patch, extremely powerful, and by some people considered the best Civ in the patch. So it seems both players considering getting it out of the way before the reset so they can possibly play it a second time.
think Tabben's taking a little break here. He said he would be right back. And while he's away, while we have a bit of downtime, if you guys are enjoying this stream, donating to ESOC using the button located in the description of the channel. These tournaments are purely community funded, so with your donations, we will be able to host more events. I want to say thank you all for watching. We have 170 viewers right now. That's more than we had in the past few streams, so I'm happy to see everybody out here enjoying the stream. This tournament is for $1,500. This is the round of 32 between Conquerer999 and Tabben.
Yes.
Actually look over the stats of the players that much when we started the cast. Conquerer999 is a player from the USA, and I don't believe I said it. I think I only said it once, but he also plays as Dictator, and basically Dictator being the undisputed best treaty player, basically ever. He's taking seed 15 in the round of 32. Tabben, on the other hand, a player from Sweden, he's taking seed 18, and he's only been playing actively for 9 months. So he's a very recent player, a rising star, and this is his strongest tournament appearance yet. Game 3 here on Hudson Bay. Indian Mirror. West will be Conquerer999, of course, playing as the India in the color red, and on the east.
So how long has my microphone been muted?
Oh, yeah, I think it was muted for a second there, but that's all right.
Okay.
Conquerer999, he's going to spawn in on the east in the red color. The west, representing the west side, in the color blue.
Also, this is a betting match or something. I don't quite know what's up with that, but Brooke told me to mention this, so there's betting or something.
That's true. The betting for the autumn tournament has begun. This is actually the first betting match. We didn't mention it, but unfortunately right now, for all of you listening, the betting is closed for this match, so you can't place any bets. Basically, the betting, it's an event hosted by Goodspeed. You can find more information for it on the forums and sign up for it. You will need a Goodspeed to make a sheet for you should you choose to participate. If you haven't put your bets in yet, you won't be able to put them in for this match. But we'll have a lot more round of 32 games. Those will be the betting matches week. And yeah, if you're interested in gambling or pseudo-gambling for this event, of course, you can opt to do that.
We do have an immediate difference in build order, though. Conqueror going for a trading post, whereas Tabben is not opting for a trading post. And I looked at the map, and oh my god, there are a lot of good treasures on this map.
Tabben already taking a 150 food treasure.
Yeah. And there's a wood treasure around as well. And there's another wood treasure over here. There's a lot of wood.
Yeah, this is just absolutely nuts.
The map is stacked. Let's see, does anyone have a water deck? Please, someone have a what? No one has a water deck. I am sad.
Player's going to scout this 90 food treasure, but I believe because Tabben used his little stomps on the past treasure he used, I think it was the 80 XP guarded by 2 wolves or something. I'm not going to be able to spend them early, and as well his explorers are a bit more damaged because of the treasures he chose to take. Being able to push these explorers away, probably going to go back soon and try to pick up that 90 food for himself.
Both players opting for the wood trickle card. Oh, whoa, why? That's a villager. What is it doing over there?
Very forward. I think we know what it's going to do over there, Chrissy.
I know what it's doing over there, but I don't know what it was doing over here.
No, that's a bit too close to build the Agra.
Yeah, let me just put my Agra fort down here. I'm sure he won't notice.
Interesting to see a metagame where, the TC doesn't actually have a
oh god,
radius around it that prevents opponents from building. I think
Japan
that would be
literally
a
unplayable Civ. Ottoman just makes barracks next to your town center.
Actually be a weekend tournament if our magical development team, spearheaded by Eagle Mutt, he would probably be able to find a way to make that happen.
Oh, I miss Starvation now. Starvation was a lot of
Starvation
fun.
tournament, being a tournament where no hunts and no berries spawned on the map, I believe. They were made
There
using
were
special
berries.
maps.
There were berries. Only hunts didn't spawn, and you were not allowed to ship food crates.
Find
And Japan was
alternative
banned.
means. You had to find alternative means by which to age up and make military units. And
Yeah, the
you know,
most
that
common
led
civ
to
in
some
that tournament was Iroquois, I believe, because they had the deer shipment or something in age 1. But yeah, anyway, Tabben also taking a trading post just much later, and I'm not sure why he's taking this one. That seems really difficult to hold. I feel like this one would be much easier to defend. It's like in between your town center and your Agra fort, which also gives you a nice line of vision along this horizontal.
No, while that's true that he could have the option for a safer trade post, I think this choice to go for that forward trade post by Tabben is actually very intentional. Him placing the forward aggro, taking map control, establishing it very early. He's going to know basically if Conqueror chooses to siege this trade post, exactly where Conqueror's military is. With that knowledge, he can, basically push out around the map wherever he chooses, poking,
That does make
maybe
sense,
taking
yeah.
off a villager or two. As
Stake
well, we could see Tabben try to go for the stagecoach, taking those and probably sieging this one from Conqueror
That's
999
true.
down.
India does have a lot of wood income, so they could do that. It would be a bit awkward this early, but it is something we could see. We do see that Conqueror is opting for a more defensive playstyle with a in-base aggro making Gurkha, whereas Tabben, like you said, is opting for a more pressure-based contain / map control, whatever you want to call it, building the beefier and more all-purpose sepoy. And with this many of them, pairing it with a 5 sepoy shipment, he might be looking at actually pushing as well. Whereas Foreign Login is the second shipment of choice for Conqueror, going very defensive here. Poking in with the Gurkha. Oh, nice pullback on the sepoy. Conqueror does need to be a bit careful with these opposing elephants. They do a reasonable amount of splash damage and also have the chance to stomp, of course.
I've been trading 2 sepoys there for the trade post. About an even trade, so Tabben's pretty happy with that. Shipping the 5 sepoy first, not opting to go for a very economic build order. He's going to have to make something of that pretty soon here, as well as shipping the 600 wood economic shipment, but it will allow him to pump out some more infrastructure.
Yeah, he does need a market, I would say. In the mirror, you can't really afford to not have a market if the opposing player does have it. At least if you intend the game to go any amount of time. We can see that Conqueror is already finishing with his final tier 1 upgrade, and we will probably see 1, maybe 2 of the tier 2 upgrades. We do see only a forward consulate at the moment from the wood treasure. Or not the treasure, the shipment rather. So just some
Conqueror
houses
99
and a consulate, I guess. Interesting.
Conqueror 99 finished with his consulate. He sent 300 exports, so I would believe he's going to send villager upgrade.
Oh yeah, he's going
the,
full economics. He is researching tier 2 food at the moment, and I would imagine, yeah, there's the 4 villagers from the Ottoman consulate, the 4 settlers. And 600 coin to follow it up with. And he is floating a reasonable amount of food. Yeah, no, I was gonna say if he just goes to Fortress here, it would be very risky, but he is just using it to make Gurkha, and he's adding in a house here to hopefully finish off that batch in time. Whereas Tabben's still just pumping out the sepoy, shipping 300 export as well. I would be very surprised if he goes for Brit here. He has no scouting information on what Conqueror is doing exactly. And just going for a massive musketeers when you already saw him making some amount of Gurkha seems a bit risky. And yeah, we do see him going for the Ottoman consulate, also going to go for the villagers, I would imagine. Although he could possibly go for the gardeners. And yeah, it is the gardeners.
I would expect him to... Gonna see the gardeners come out here. 3 hussars, they have a bit of an upgrade. All consulate units are a bit stronger than, you know, normal units.
Yeah, it's not quite veteran, I believe, right? It's slightly less than veteran?
It's like 15%-ish. But yeah, gonna go with those 3 hussars. That's gonna round out his composition. Of course, Tabben much farther ahead on the economic population. Conqueror sending 600 coin, maybe going to try to sneak in the age up. Although it's hard to say sneak in when it's quite
he
clear
is
that
floating resources at the moment, so he might.
Gonna try to do. So basically, I think Tabben's gonna here very shortly.
Yeah, and Tabben did add a market at some point, and he is researching tier 2 food and has the other tier 1s, so he's not too far behind. Although Conqueror does again have Imperial Bureaucracy, which is a pretty big upgrade. 4 Sawars being shipped by Tabben, yeah, so he has a full cavalry unit here. Some Sawars, some Gardeners. Whereas Conqueror just now starting to add in Zamaraks to try and go for the Skirm Dragoon composition. Of course, a staple of Age of Empires 3. Yeah, I don't think he can age up here. He needs to spend these resources. And he realized it as well, just adding in back.
He does have 5 Gurkhas in queue, yeah, 5 Zambrakses in queue as well, but I think it might be too late, you know.
Oh, there's the Minutemen.
Oh, there's the Minutemen.
Even well the Ottoman ones.
Out as well, not in position.
And there's the Zamaraks, but they are in a very awkward position to say the least. I do think he holds here with the Agra Fort and the town center firing. I don't think Tabben can fight here for much longer. He wants to pick off some of the villagers, and then he would probably want to get out of there. That being said, he is killing a lot of Conqueror's units.
And still, yeah, I think this engagement, Tabben comes ahead in. And basically...
Possibly, yeah. Oh, yeah, just look at the amount of villagers killed. He did lose 25 sepoy, which is quite a lot, but at the same time, Conqueror losing 9 villagers, 2 sepoy, 17 Gurkha, and his full Zamorak bash. Oh, there's a 5 sepoy shipment right under the army, though. So he is going to lose pretty much all his stuff here. But yeah, Tabben during this time really catching up in eco, even surpassing Conqueror due to the villagers getting killed off and being idled.
Tabben doing massive damage here, killing off 12 villagers of Conquerer999, taking a huge economic lead despite his less economic build order. And, you know, I think Conquerer999 here, he just chose to go for a much too greedy build order without any scouting information. Besides, he saw Tabben ship 5 Sepoy first, so he knows that Tabben went for an aggressive build order and had to commit to a more aggressive style, probably a colonial age.
Especially so the trying to age, I think, was a bit too greedy. Like, saving up so many resources.
I would have much preferred Conqueror to stay in Age 2 and mass up units. Mass up a safer, yeah, Tabben. Conquerer999 so desperately wanted a few minutes ago.
700 food coming out here for... Do you think he's, again, trying to go to Fortress here with 700 food? Wait,
really
that's
behind
that's
here,
the Taj Mahal,
so
right?
many villagers.
Yeah, Taj Mahal. Oh,
Taj
wow.
Mahal.
Conqueror is actually getting tier 2 coin market upgrade during all of this. I don't think he could afford to do that. That's a 200 resource investment. I mean, sure, you're getting a lot of coin here, but... Oh, that's so painful. And yeah, he is going to age up.
Even still, even when they're both going to Fortress Age and technically going to be the same on, you know, upgrade or upgrades, how you'll have it, Conquer999 so far behind in economy. I'm not sure, like, he can... There's not a lot he can do in this position because I don't think he can stay in Age 2 and try to push it a win out that way. Even if he ages up, he's going to be behind in economy, so he's not going to be able to keep up on military production.
Yeah, he needs to
I don't think there's
somehow get like a
anything that
good
will
catch under his Agra fort or something. Like Tabben just
miracle
right-clicks
catch.
the Agra and, 9 Yurumi arrive or whatever, or 7 Yurumi rather. Something like that. He needs a bit of luck and a big outplay on his part to really push back into this game, I think. It's going to be rough. He definitely needs to keep making villagers, which he is doing. But Tabben is just, yeah, like you said, so far ahead. Although, that being said, Conqueror is going for the superior unit composition. Tabben's still going for pure Sepoy, whereas Conqueror is going for the Zamorak Gurkha. But now there's the Yurumi, and those definitely skew the composition back into Tabben's favor. Yurumi are very, very powerful.
Absolutely. Some people might be confused why you don't go with Gurkha behind a Yurumi mass. Well, the reason behind that is Yurumi are, they're a very wonky unit. They're basically like skirmishers in hand mode. Sepoy, they are anti-cavalry, but only in melee. But however, Sepoys have a higher base damage, which means they do more damage against basically all units besides heavy infantry. They would do more damage against dragoons, for example. They do more damage against heavy cavalry. And when they're behind the Yurumi mass, the Yurumi tank so much damage that any skirm multipliers against these Sepoy, it's kind of irrelevant when the Yurumis are sponging the damage for them.
I'm kind of surprised that Tabben didn't immediately push in the moment he saw the age up. He knows he's super far ahead in eco, so that Conqueror probably has no units whatsoever when he ages up. That being said, I guess he's waiting. Yeah, 2 Mahouts. Casual 2,400 hit points. Let's see. Conqueror is not getting a single veteran upgrade, whereas Tabben has the veteran Sepoy. And I think this is going to be a slaughter. Oh my god, 1,000 wood from Conqueror. That is not the shipment he needs right now.
Conqueror, using his ceasefire ability from the Taj Mahal, gonna delay Tabben by, I believe it's 15 or 17 seconds, something like that. Even still, I don't think Tabben particularly cares. He's just happy to be in his base, causing so much havoc, even when he can't. Tabben also electing to use the ceasefire ability.
Yeah, he wants to catch his army.
Push Conqueror into a corner from which he can just, annihilate with his superior military mass.
Conqueror is quite greedy, I believe is the term best used here. Oh, and rip army. If this town center gets up, he does have Minutemen that can come out of that. But I don't think this town center will go up. Yeah, Conqueror resigns. Oof, Conqueror losing 2 games in a row here. If he loses one more, he is out of the tournament, I believe. This is elimination bracket for him, right?
Yes, this is the round of 32. So the loser of this, they're straight up being knocked out of the tournament. It's single elimination from this point forward. Tabben taking the lead in this series 2-1. And in the next game, Conquerer999 is actually going to need to lock his civilization first. So he's at a slight disadvantage going into game 4. This is game point for Tabben. Should he win it? And move on to the round of 16. And I believe one of his potential opponents in the next round is Nushalbar. He was the second place finisher in the last major event that we held. And tour. Be High Plains. Saying he's going to need a second. Both players going to need a short break. On that last game, I think Conquer999, he was ahead in the early game, or that midish to late game, I suppose, midish to mid game, I should say. From early to mid. He had he and he had basically tabben didn't put on a sufficient amount of pressure to really do anything at that point, saving up for the age up, which meant that whenever tabben chose to come in his base, he was just so outmassed that even with the Minutemen pop, town center fire, or Minutemen, hold what tabben had. And because of that, tabben getting off a very, very positive engagement in his favor, killing off a lot of villagers, evening up that to mid game. And yeah, Conquerer999 not being able to come back from that. I would have liked to have seen Conqueror just pump that resources into more units. That would have, in Age 2, should tabben have gone with the line of play that he eventually did end up going with.
Yeah, or at least, sacrifice one of those elephants to get some scouting information. And, like, if you see the 4 Sowars and the 3 Gardeners, you can't just save up to Age. You know he's going to apply some pressure.
Absolutely. The scouting information, I don't think we saw Conqueror's explorers leave his town center after Age 2.
Or maybe not even an elephant, just like a sepoy or a Gurkha. Just send something to keep track of how many units tabben is making, not just blindly try to age up. It's so risky. Like, you should know you're decently far ahead in eco. You have your imperial bureaucracy, you had your tier 2 food. You've been bumping out villagers all game, and you saw him ship 5 sepoy and make 2 batches of 5 to siege down your trading post. You know you're going to be ahead in eco. It just seemed really greedy to try to pull that off without scouting information. But, I mean, obviously, on the other hand of the spectrum, if he does pull it off, if he gets this really fast fortress timing and gets away with it unpunished, he is just massively ahead, so I can kind of see why he tried to go for it. It's a huge risk, but if it works, it just pays off so big. It's a gamble, like the betting that's going on.
Yeah, I think a lot of players stand to lose this betting match. Conqueror999 being the favored player going into it. Let me just take a look at the results. Anybody who voted for Conqueror999 would have had 1.4 multiplier on what they bet. So let's say, for example, I bet 1,000 on Conqueror winning. I would earn 1,400 points back if Conqueror999 does indeed win. tabben, on the other hand, if I chose to sink 1,000 points into his result in winning, 3,360 points.
That's a lot of swag
Basically
points.
means is, yeah, what that basically means is a lot of people think that Conqueror999 is the favorite player here. Not as many people had faith in tabben, but tabben on match point here. Should he win, he wins the series.
It's not over yet.
And even if he loses this game, there's still another opportunity for him in the next.
Yeah, and what would the final map be? Kamchatka. Ooh, I do like Kamchatka. Wait, do I like Kamchatka? I think I like Kamchatka. Which map is Kamchatka?
Yeah, Kamchatka.
Oh yeah, I like Kamchatka. I like Kamchatka.
Kamchatka being the first ESOC map ever produced. It was made by Garya. It's hard to describe the layout. I guess it's most similar. What would you say it's most similar to, Chrissy?
It's very similar to Kamchatka.
It's kind of like Oracania. I don't think a lot of people remember that map. But that's like a vanilla map, I believe.
I don't think I have played non-ESOC maps ever in my life, except against bots.
A 3 trade post line towards the center of the map, towards the left of where the players spawn. The players spawning more towards the northeast, I suppose, is where it's at. There are 4 lakes that separate the players. 2. There's also a frozen map spawn where there's actually no lakes, and you can walk across the pond, and that's how it's oriented, I suppose.
There's also sheep.
But yeah. The Garya goats on the map.
Or goats, whatever. But Kamchatka is actually the map I won my first ever ESOC tournament game on.
Against?
Gib the something, I believe. Wait, no.
Whoa!
Wait. No. I think I can see it on the ESOC forum. You have a profile and it has like a tournament record, and you can look at all the games you've played. I'm really good at these subtle plugs. Wait, profile? Let me just look. Tournament profile, Chrissy. Group stage, Kyle the Great. That's his name.
She did end up losing that series 1-2.
I did lose the series 1-2 because I did a massive throw in game 2, where I was incredibly far ahead, and then I decided to delete my army. And then I lost.
Yeah, Kyle the Great, a pretty good player himself, so there's no shame in losing to him. I think he's ranked
But I won
major
game
by
1.
now.
I won game 1, Japan versus Dutch on Kamchatka. With a build order that I had specifically designed for that map. I am so proud of this. It was a 300 wood shipment, which I used to grab a shrine and a trading post. And with the experience from the trading post, I had it mapped out exactly. I could ship a second shipment just in time and still have a shipment exactly as I reach Colonial to ship my wood. So proud of that build order.
Should we go into a game 5? If one of the players picks Japan, we might see that build order, Chrissy.
Oh, I doubt it, because that build order turned out to be pretty bad. But it felt so sweet. Anyway, we do have, in the bottom left side of the map, once EP saves the recorded game, in the color blue, as India, tabben. Picking India 2 times in a row here worked for him last time, and if it works for him again, he wins the entire series. In the top right side of the map, however, trying to prevent this, playing in the color red as the Dutch, we have Conqueror, who needs to win 2 games in a row here, or he is out back to the second chance tournament. But yeah, India Dutch. I'm not sure if I've seen this matchup in the current version of the patch.
Both of these civs basically being considered the top civilizations. You know, Dutch were recently nerfed as well. India received a slight nerf. They used to have 50 wood houses on the patch, but that was reverted back to 60 wood. And I believe, you know, sours used to cost 75 food and 75 coin. That was a change made to them. They normally cost 80 food and 80 coin, and I believe that was reverted back to how it normally is, 80 food, 80 coin. Dutch, on the other hand, I believe their banks used to be 300 food and 350 wood on the patch, but they were reverted back to the standard amount, which is 350 food and 350 wood. These Dutch banks on EP, they grant more experience points when they're constructed, and I believe that remains the same. So they're both slightly buffed civilizations. And yeah, they are considered to be the strongest civs on this patch.
The banks also give more experience when siege down, though, right?
Not sure. It's being considered top. On this map, I would say it might be more in the favor of India, because I think India is a civ that, you know, they go for the trade posts and the trade post line.
Oh, yeah,
more often
that's
than
the thing on this map.
Finding characteristics of high plains, having these 5 trade posts, it's very nice to get the stagecoach line and work it from there.
Yeah, this is the famous 5 TP line. It's a fan favorite, or, you know, despised, depending on which civilizations you play. Personally, I'm not a huge fan of this. I prefer maps without trading posts. But let's take a look.
As a Japan player, I can certainly understand that.
Nothing too major. There are some coin treasures for both players. 50 wood for tabben. Native Scout for Conqueror is pretty nice, giving him a 3rd exploring unit.
Scout, he's going to be able to put a lot of damage on the Indian Explorer that we saw earlier. Tabben picking up almost 150 coin worth of treasures, but as an India player, that's not particularly relevant in the early game stage. I'm sure that the Dutch player would have really loved to have picked up those treasures, but instead getting a 50 wood. Actually, no, Tabben got 50 wood. Conqueror just picking up a 40 coin and of course that scout as well.
Am I the only one that thinks Tabben's deck looks like a fast industrial?
A fast industrial, but he does have a lot of options should he choose to go industrial age. But this game opting to go for the forward aggro like he did in the previous game. Try to creep one of this.
Ooh, one of the elephants might
Villager.
get picked off here. Oh wait, no, never mind. The wolves are following the Dutch. Wait, are they? Wait, whose explorer are these wolves hitting? I'm not sure.
Because of the stomp there, it crushed a few of those wolves that are or coyotes that are guarding that treasure, and because of that, the coyotes retasked themselves to attack Tabben's explorer.
Oh, and that made him lose the elephant. That's not ideal.
Really weird, because Tabben was actually in a really good position there to steal the treasure and kill Conquerer999's explorers.
Yeah, see, this is why you have Divine Strike instead of Stomp. It's just way better. You just right-click the unit and then it dies. There is no nonsense going about. And yeah, Dutch showing here just how fast they age up. Tabben not even close. Although he does only have one villager on this wonder, I believe. So that does make it go quite slow. We do see second bank coming down for Dutch here. Do you reckon he will go for a bank wagon or 700 wood? And yeah, it's 700 wood. He just chipped it. So the 700 wood, next question. Do you think he will use this to make 2 banks, or will it be for basic infrastructure?
I'm not a Dutch player myself. I don't know if he'll choose to pump it into the third bank quite yet. I think maybe he'll he's building the barracks now.
We need to get Yoram in here.
Mark. I mean, there's a lot of different options you can do with this. You can put out a barracks, 2 houses, a market. So we've got the market and the barracks out already. Conqueror999, he does have enough food.
Yeah, this could
so
be
that
the
if
third bank.
he chooses to go for the third bank, he can build it right away. The one bank wagon as his third shipment. Go for the max economic play, basically. Yep,
Yeah,
the bank
bank,
coming
okay.
out here. As well as the market, the barracks going to pump out anything else that's remaining from these wood crates, probably into a house, which he'll need very shortly.
Oh, I like what Tabben's doing here, going straight for civil servants. I mean, might even see Imperial Bureaucracy straight after this as well if he wants to. And yeah, look at this. Colonial Militia from Conqueror, but we see Tabben just taking trading posts.
Yeah. Wow.
I really like this play by Tabben.
That.
I think build otherwise, Tabben is just in a pretty good position. As long as he keeps boosting his economy. If he decides to go for military now, it's different, but... Oh, look at this, even using his sepoy to gather treasures.
And this is exactly what he wants. He doesn't know yet that Conqueror999 has sent Colonial Militia, but, you know, just by proxy of, you know, Conqueror sending that that Colonial Militia basically blind without knowing exactly what Tabben is doing, it's not going to play out in his favor. It's not going to be a while until Tabben is in Conqueror's base to where that Colonial Militia can get the value he needs from it to justify having sent a shipment for it.
Let's take a look at which consulate he goes for here. I hope it's Ottoman. Yeah, it's Ottoman. Yeah, he's just going straight eco here. Very nice. No Imperial Bureaucracy yet, but he does have every tier 1 getting tier 2 food. There's the bank wagon. Yeah, and I think with the Explorer scouting the base here, Conqueror's like, oh man, I just delayed my bank wagon. Oh, well, I say that, but there is some sepoy. And if Tabben was paying attention here, he will have noticed Colonial Militia. But judging by what he's doing, it doesn't seem like he has. Or maybe he just wants to thin the skirmisher count. There's the batch of
Miniman
normal
coming up
Miniman
here as well.
Explorer doing some basic harass here.
7 sepoys in that engage. Conqueror999 losing the option for Minutemen, as well as losing one skirmisher and taking damage on another. He did lose a bit of gathering time, you know, having his vills penned up in the TC. But non-withholding, that didn't go bad for Conqueror. Minutemen.
Yeah,
I don't think the
I do
Minutemen
think that
got
tabben
great value
noticed the
there.
colonial militia, so he did gain some information from this as well, knowing that Dutch, quote-unquote, wasted the shipment.
And a tabben also distributing to go to Fortress Age here, as well. Conqueror999 doing the same. So we're definitely going
Dutch
to see
actually has no market
Fortress Age
upgrades
gameplay here.
at all. He doesn't have a single one. So the market was just to trade resources with the bank if with the gold from the bank to buy resources if needed, which Dutch players do love to do. Both players going to Fortress here. I believe that's the Taj Mahal again. Yeah, Exile Prince, Taj Mahal. Okay, so Dutch will be the first to reach Fortress. And we'll have to see if tabben does go for this really wonky industrial play, because he does have 5 industrial cards, one of which is Infinite Yurumi, so... Definitely, at least having the respect for the industrial agenda is important here if you're a Conqueror. Because if you allow tabben to go to industrial completely unharmed, those Yurumi can be very difficult to deal with. The best counter to Yurumi is Handcav, if I'm correct, right?
Yes, they're technically a skirmisher unit in melee mode, so cavalry units fare the best against them. Or heavy cavalry. Melee cavalry, I should say.
Yeah. I mean, Dragoons, technically speaking, still beat them, right? It's just that they have to kite until literally forever.
You know, goons can kite forever, but if they get caught, Yurumis do very, very well against them.
Do they actually have a multiplier versus Dragoon units? Or is it just because they do a lot of damage?
They do have multiplier against...
Okay. Oh. tabben sacrificing an elephant to see just exactly what Conqueror has here. And he sees exactly what's to be expected. Sturmreuter.
Grun gonna push out of his base a little bit, gonna siege that trade post, take it down. You know, what I would like to see from Conqueror999 here is that he plays the early Age 3 a lot more aggressively than, you know, he normally plays his matches. Basically, India have a lot of economic options with each shipment they get a villager, so they can keep up with Dutch in terms of economy. So basically, Dutch's window is in this early Fortress Age. You know, going into the later stages of the matches, the economy is gonna, you know, even out. Some decent upgrades. You know, when they have the Mensabdar upgrade, which is not the Fortress Age age up that tabben went with this game. He instead went with the Taj Mahal.
What does Taj Mahal actually do besides the ceasefire? Is it just resources? It's coin, right?
Coin. Yes. Yeah. The Tower of Victory, or I forget what it's called, the Charminar Gate, instead gives 800 coin, 800 wood, and the option to build those Mensabdar units.
Yeah, and then the tower is food, right? And then the Carney is all resources, and the Agra Fort is the Sepoy, I believe. We do see that the Sepoy getting picked off here, and tabben... Oh, right, yes. I'm not sure how I missed this, but... yeah.
It's industrial strategy.
Yeah, so he is
like
going for an industrial play. That also gives you... Wait, is it the one that gives you Mahout? Which one is this? Charminar Gate. No, that's the... Yeah, that's not...
If he goes with the Charminar Gate... actually, I was incorrect. I apologize. The Tower of Victory grants 800 wood.
Yeah, this is the Mahout one, right?
Yeah, in the Charminar Gate grants 1 Mahout in Fortress Age, and when it's the Industrial Age up, it grants 2 Mahouts. Conqueror is going in here. He's pressuring tabben's town center as well.
Has he seen the...
Oh,
Yurumi on the skirmishers!
Very nice pop for tabben. A bit fortunate as well, you know, he wasn't entirely
Oh, and if these
sure
catch the Reuters as well and get a snare off... Oh, that's a lot of dead units! Oh, this is painful. Yeah, this is not good.
Skirmishers here. Some skirmishers sieging the trade post there. A villager coming forward. His macro is not quite on point. You know, he's so focused on these Yurumis right now that he's neglecting that a bit in order to efficiently deal with these Yurumi.
Oh, and I think Conqueror might
Yurumi
lose this
shipment.
game. Here, it's by no means over. If you look at the eco population, Conqueror is very much so ahead in that department. But tabben did manage to reach Industrial with not too much damage being done to his economy and his infrastructure. Why is there a Dutch villager gathering coin over here? Anyway, as I was saying, tabben is an Industrial, mostly intact, and Industrial shipments are very strong. Oh, and another Yurumi pop on top of the army!
Oh my.
And this is the big one with the Mansabdar as well. Oh, this is so painful. The Mahout's coming in as well. And this is why you don't siege in the shipment points in Industrial. Oh, that was so painful. Not once, but twice does Conqueror's entire army get caught by a Yurumi shipment. And it's just so difficult to deal with that. You can't run away. You can't fight. He does hold here, of course, because of Colonial Militia. You know, this is a massive power spike in his army. I think it's like 15 Minutemen or something he gets. Let's take a look. Military units. Yeah, it's 15 Minutemen. That's a lot of Minutemen. And, you know, Minutemen are actually pretty powerful units.
You know, tabben's sitting quite a bit ahead here on score, but he's still down in economic population, so I hope Conqueror999 doesn't take it to mean so much that he's behind in score. You know, he still definitely has a shot at winning this match.
Yeah, he just needs to be very, very careful.
And bringing out the redcoats here, those will be basically guard redcoats, or guard redcoats. They're very strong. They get the shadow tech when you age up.
I do like the veteran Hussar here, though. Very important unit to have in this composition. He needs to pick off these redcoats so that the Hussar can do what they need to do. Some more Reuters coming out here as well.
Skirmishers as well, from the 8 skirmisher shipment.
Yeah, he just really needs to go something like Skirm, Huz at the moment. Pick off the Musketeer type units, kite the Yurumi, until the Musketeer count is low enough that the Hussar can clean up. That is how Conqueror has to deal with this in the industrial composition. And yeah, we do see that tabben is adding a lot more sepoy here because he knows that the Hussar are the dangerous unit for his Yurumi. I would very much like to see him get guard sepoy as well. It is an expensive upgrade, but very much worth so. Sepoy scaling quite well with upgrades. Great base stats on the unit. We do see the Dutch player here going for a flank, maybe intending to try and raid or divert the army somehow. Which he does need to do. He needs to have time, basically, to remass up and get the required amount of cav and the required amount of skirmishers to properly deal with this India industrial army. Let's take a look if he can pick off some villagers here. Yeah, he did get about 6 villagers at some point in this game, so that is nice. Like you said, Dutch quite far ahead in eco. And tabben actually a bit indecisive here, camping his army near the Agrofor, but now pulling back, deciding that defending is how he wants to play this game. Ooh, the Hussar might get caught a bit here, and one Hussar just dies for nothing. No guard on the way yet.
Conqueror999 needs to be very, very particular about how he chooses to engage here.
Absolutely.
And getting caught by these Yurumi already, and I think that could be a death sentence, honestly.
Yeah, just look at how much damage these guys do. Another 9 Yurumi shipment. And this is, of course, another problem with tabben being in... Oh, wow. Well, I mean, it is the good units for him, at least, so that's something. Like I was saying, this is the problem with India against Dutch in industrial. As Dutch, you just run out of powerful shipments to send. Like, he only has 1 more actual shipment, I believe. Whereas India can just keep sending infinite 9 Yurumi. Oh, the Hussar actually lost that fight against the Yurumi. Wow.
I don't know if it was 8 or 9 Hussars, but they just got taken out by those 9 Yurumi.
This reminds me of one of the earlier tournament games I casted with H2O, where it was French against India, and French was going pure Gendarme against India's pure Yurumi. And H2O just kept saying, like, yeah, I mean, French should win this, right? He has Gendarmes against Yurumi. But those Yurumi just kept dealing so efficiently with the Cav due to positioning and just smart play by the India player. Sometimes Yurumi can just beat Cav if you do it right.
You have them outmassed. And 9 has been on like the back foot
Oh,
in
the
terms of,
ceasefire and Conqueror resigns.
Ooh.
Yeah, and tabben just doing, coming back with a 3-0 after losing game 1. Just showing his dominance here, wow. Very impressive play. And like you said, the people that bet on tabben, they are probably rubbing their hands together.
The series, and tabben will move on to the round of 16. It's not quite certain who yet will be his opponent. I believe there's still a match between Nushal Bar and his placements group opponent, which is yet to be decided. This match was completed quite a bit earlier. Diagnose the issues with this game. I feel like Conquerer999 got caught out of position, and he did put on some good pressure, but he didn't make the most of it as I think he could have. Low on military unit population. I'm not sure where that exactly was derived. And even, just from the beginnings of tabben reaching the industrial age, he was outmassed. And when that happens, it's massing you. They have upgraded units. What can you do?
I mean, remember when I said early on that colonial militia blind... Yeah, I mean, he was expecting aggression and it didn't come, and basically wasted shipment. I mean, there's more to it than just that, of course, but wasting a shipment as Dutch, which are to some extent quite tempo-based with their shipments, it's painful. And then getting caught twice by a Yurumi pop. I mean, if you look at like the final fight, Conqueror loses, 40 military population, and tabben just gains military population during that fight. It's just, you can't have fights like that.